Okay, so in this video I wanted to go through some of the highlights of SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to go through the common patterns of how to access databases, some of the what I think are the most frequently used patterns within Management Studio. I'm not going to touch every single button here, but I hope to give you enough so that by watching this video you can jump in and start using Management Studio effectively. The first thing I want to do is point out the Object Explorer. That's usually here by convention or automatically. If it's not here, you can go to Tools, View, Object Explorer, F8. It pops right up. So what you have here is a way to connect to databases. So there's a couple things. You can connect to a database engine. You can also click on this little, looks like a plug. What do you want to connect Object Explorer to? So you can click this one, pops up a little window here, and now you can connect to a database. There's a number of different properties here, connection properties, any encryption settings. If you have standard connection parameters that your IT department wants you to connect to databases with, you can store it here. So you go to login and you can hit connect. As we've talked about, you can go to Windows or SQL Server authentication. If you're connected to the Microsoft Cloud, you might see some other options. For our example, we'll just connect to Windows authentication and hit connect, and there you go. If you want to disconnect, you can hit this little plug with the little X here, and it would disconnect you from server. So now you're connected to a server, and from here you can go ahead and access databases. There's a number of different ways to do that. One of the easiest is to click on New Query here. You can also hit Control-N. If you hit that, it pops up another window in this pane over here, and now you're connected to the server that was highlighted. You can see that up here, localhost SQL Express. You can also see it down here, what database you're connected to, or what server you're connected to, what user you are using, and what database you're connected to. This is the default database for that user, so it happens to be master. If I want to change a database, the SQL, use SQL Professor, you can hit go here, and you can now execute. You can hit this button to execute. Also F5, very common shortcut. Now you're within the context of another database. You can also select the database here. You can go to Model. These are the system databases. The only user database here on the server is SQL Professor, and I can get there. Get you to the exact same thing as hitting the use command. This window right here is another way of using a database, going into it without going through the T-SQL command. Executing a command, like I said, you can execute or you can hit F5. This can work for anything, so select, I don't know what, top one from, let's go ahead and expand this out. What tables do we have here? Customers. To execute, if you just hit execute, it will run the whole command. If you want to just run one, you can highlight and hit execute. I can also highlight and hit F5. In this case, it will work and not return anything because all I'm doing is selecting the database. You can see that if I bounce to another one, highlight, hit F5, command completed successfully, and I'm over here in the SQL Professor database. If I want to change the connection of this window, not of this window, but of this window, I can hit this, Newer versions of SQL Server will make sure you don't have any open transactions. Close that. It opens up and you can connect to some other server if you want. You get to the same spot. So that's what this button does here. A couple other things. You can parse commands. That's what this checkbox is here. So let's see if we can have a typo. Parse it. Gives you an idea. Obviously the IntelliSense gives you that as well. Incorrect syntax. Delete that. Parse. Command completed successfully. Usually means it's okay. Now, searching. This works as you might expect. You can hit Control F. Find something. Customers. Hit enter. You can search. You can use regular expressions by opening up or selecting or unselecting this. Match the whole word, match the case. If you hit Control H, it's find and replace. Replace customers with, oh, who knows. Let's look at the other table. Replace the current text. Go. Searches it all. You can also replace all. Again, regular expressions is an option. You can also search using this window here. It's find, not replace. So let's go ahead and find go. Hit enter. You can see how it finds it right here. Close out of that. So you can use this window, Control F, Control H, very similar to commands that you might see in many Microsoft products. Go ahead and search. Next thing I want to point out is comments. If I want to comment out a line, I can highlight this and I got to find it. Comment out the selected lines or uncomment the selected lines. You can also get to that Control K, Control C, Control K, Control U. And you see that tooltip pop up right here. You can see the Control K, Control C to comment out, Control K, Control U to uncomment. Now, Object Explorer is right here, and if you wanted to see the details, you can click on this, and what are the details of the customer table? Well, View, you can see this Object Explorer details. F7 is the keyboard shortcut. You see that very often. And now you have information about what you're selecting. You can drill in what columns are part of customers. If you shift over here, it will come back up. Now what columns are from sheriff jail bookings. If you haven't watched our previous video, this was about gathering external data from data.gov. That's why we have a table, sheriff jail bookings. You can also double click here and maybe we want to add information. In this case, there's not a whole lot more information to add. Tables, right click, and you can see maybe I want to add the data space used. I want to not show if it's a system object or not. Maybe I want to show that again. I can move things around here. So it's about how you want to dive in and get additional information. So the Object Explorer, F8, Object Explorer Details, F7, it's really just another tab. You can see my query tab is still here. Just pops open Object Explorer Details. Within a SQL window, a couple of other options. We're not going to dive into query plans just yet, but you can see here display the estimated execution plan or include the actual execution plan. So if I wanted to look at this and I click on view or display the estimated execution plan, it will run some analysis And in this case, it's a trivial table. It will just show you, it will scan the table. If I wanted to display the actual execution plan, I can click on this, which doesn't do anything. But then when I execute the command, it will not only show me the results, shows me any messages, and also now shows me the actual execution plan. So those are these buttons here. The one with the little arrow at the end is the estimated. The one without that includes the actual execution plan. You can see the tooltips, Control M, Control L. So I can just highlight this, Control L, it gives me that plan. Control M toggles that. You see it went away. Control M highlights it again. And you can go ahead and go. The other thing I'll point out is the query options, which is right over here. You can see a lot of different options depending on what you might want to do. Your execution, general options, row count. You can see maximum number of rows to return, timeouts, the go batch separator. There's some advanced settings, your ANSI settings. Result to grid, you want to include the query in the result set. Include column headers by default when copying or saving. By default, that's not there. In my opinion, maybe it should be. This one is also very common for text. Maximum number of characters displayed in each column. The default is 256. So if you have something where you're returning a lot of clear text, oftentimes you'll get a truncation because it's not allowing more than 256 characters. So remember your query options. Multi-server we won't touch here. But to show you how this works a little bit, let's include the query result in the result set. And let's just go. You can see the query now returned in a comment. And the results are here. You can also get to many of those options from the query window. You can see, for example, results to text. Let's do that instead of grid. Execute this. Here I go. Now I get my results as text for whatever reason. I still have my display actual, include actual execution plan, so it's still giving me back my execution plan right here. The other thing I want to point out, and we'll wrap it up by remembering for refreshes, it doesn't always show here unless you refresh. So I'm going to create a new query. For sake of argument, we'll say create table, orders. Order ID is an integer, and order date is a date. Everything looks good. I'll go ahead and hit execute. Creates my table. Nothing much changed here. Right click, refresh. There's my orders table. You'll see that all the time. Last thing I want to point out is scripting. Particularly stored procedures, you can script or tables. We'll start with tables. Script a table as create to a new window, to the clipboard, to a file. You do that. Select what server you want this to open up into. Give it a few seconds to run. Okay, I created my table. The command anyway. I'm getting the IntelliSense because the table already exists. But there you go. It scripts out the schema of the table. I can also get to a stored procedure. Script stored procedure as create. I always script it out as create because I don't want to script it out as alter and accidentally alter the real stored procedure. To a new query window. Again, which server are you connecting to, and here's my procedure. If I want to see what the contents are, it's pretty straightforward. So that was my brief tour of Management Studio. There's a lot of different capabilities here. We'll dive into it more and more, but it does give you a little bit of a example on how you can get in and how you can start using it. Hopefully this was helpful. For more videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.